Hello viewers, Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I want to do a bit of a running reading today. I hope everybody is well and rested. We're heading into a weekend. It's Saturday here in Australia. So we're getting a little bit of downtime, time to relax. Nevertheless, across the world, we've got some worrying situations. And if you've been looking at my readings, I'm certainly feeling that energy. We've got the situation in Hong Kong, as you know, where China is amassing armoured vehicles and personnel on the border there. If there is protests this weekend, are China going to send in those troops? I hope not. So we'll take a look at that. We've also had a nuclear explosion in Russia. It's thought that the Russians were testing a nuclear-powered missile. Something went wrong. There was an explosion. Scientists were killed. Those that were injured were treated, and the doctors and nurses who treated them have now been taken to Moscow for treatment. Radiation levels are spiking there, according to some people on the scene. But the Russians don't seem to be very forthcoming with any information coming out of Russia regarding that explosion. So we'll have a look at what that means for the countries bordering Russia. What are they trying to cover up? Then we'll go to Epstein. Of course, the coroners handed down their findings, saying that it was suicide by hanging. If you look at my readings, I was suggesting, or my intuition was telling me, that there was interference in that self-harm, that act of self-harm. We'll take a look at that. Are they trying to hide anything? We'll also look at Ghislaine Maxwell. Is she likely to be indicted as a co-conspirator there? She's been tracked down in America. And then we'll go to Trump and Barr. Well, particularly Barr. We'll have a look at Barr to going to try and cover anything up. And if we've got time, we'll look at he who should not be named in the week ahead. Or we'll take a look briefly at him and see what's happening in the White House. But first to Hong Kong. I've also uploaded a reading on Brett Kavanaugh. As you know, the House Judicial Committee is actually going to conduct a review of his confirmation, and they've actually subpoenaed lots and lots of records relating to his time in the White House with George W. Bush. So we'll take a look. I'll upload that and release that for you today as well. Okay, Hong Kong. I watched an interview with a young man who was heading the protests, and a journalist in Australia was trying to push, are you prepared to die for the cause? All of that. The media never ceases to amaze me how insensitive they actually are. The young man said yes, so I hope it doesn't get to that. Okay, will China send in armoured vehicles and troops to Hong Kong to try and break up those protests? Will China send in armoured troops, vehicles and personnel? Will China send the troops in to try and break up these protesters? They've asked that the Western democracies stay out of this. Of course, that's not going to happen. It would be an invasion. Is China going to invade Hong Kong? Is China going to invade Hong Kong? Unfortunately, I'm tending to think that perhaps they will. Well, that's the intuitive message I'm picking up. So we've got the Page of Pentacles, and unfortunately I think this card is representing the protesters. This is courage as well. They are prepared. Those protesters are prepared to do what they have to do in the name of freedom and democracy. Okay, we've got what's challenging. That is the High Priestess. I'm using my Gilded Tarot deck today. It's a deck I haven't used in quite a while, so I thought that was appropriate. The High Priestess is showing that it's in the challenge position. It's showing that there are things that are being covered up, and this might work in the protesters' favour. We've got the head of their government, perhaps, what can I say, conspiring, can I put it like that, with the Chinese government, certainly bowing to the will of the Chinese government. And so I see that things are going to come out, and this is the way, I just want to make a bit of a distinction between this and Tiananmen Square, and I'll just have a cup of tea while I'm here. A sip of tea while I'm here. The difference today, as opposed to what happened in Tiananmen Square, is the way that information can be quickly distributed across the internet and, of course, to the populace all around the world. And if information comes out that there has been a conspiracy here against these protesters, China comes in with a heavy hand. That will not go well for China. And so that flow of information, if something was to be revealed, would be in the protesters' favour. Unfortunately, and this is what I was afraid of, this is the Three of Swords. In the reading that I did the other day, this was the signifier card, the Three of Swords, and I did feel at the time that some of that reading was applying to the situation in Hong Kong. This is the foundation of the reading, unfortunately, some sort of loss and heartbreak. Let's see what was in the past, the anxiety and the worry that has been generated by the potential of China coming in and usurping the democracy in Hong Kong. They don't want China there. They want to preserve their democracy. And this is what's led to this situation now. This is extreme anxiety where young people will put their life on the line to protect their freedom. Let's bring the laptop down. Very worrying situation, but it's one that we need to be aware of. What's in the sky here, and you know, this card here is, I'm getting a feel it's Saturn. It is the great. They turn this card is indicative that things get turned upside down, that there is chaos, that there is much more to this situation than is first meeting the eye, and that's why we need our media to stay on this and really look at all the angles. There's more here to this situation than what we actually know. What is China's agenda? What is China's real agenda here? Now, in the immediate future, we've got the Knight of Swords, and unfortunately, these are the protesters, but they're coming right up against the devil here. The devil. They are chained in a way. Hong Kong is chained to this situation with China, and we've got the protesters wanting the truth here, wanting the truth. Now, this all started with a piece of legislation that the head of the Hong Kong government brought in that would see people extradited to China to face a punishment. And of course, it was felt by the protesters that this would be a political dissidents would be targeted and extradited to China and punished. Okay, so this was China conspiring with the Hong Kong government to really erode, take away people's rights. And this is what the protests are all about. So I'm getting a strong pull here. The Hong Kong government is bowing to the will of the Chinese government here. We've got insecurity, though, currently. Monetary insecurity, as we know that Hong Kong is the location of banks, of the money. You know, it's a very important commercial location, and there's a lot of insecurity around what is going on in Hong Kong at the moment. Now, we've got the Lovers card here. Now, I hate to say that this could be people like Trump and Boris Johnson, Western democracies, might come in here. So we've got a quite a volatile situation. What is the hopes and fears? It's the loss of commerce with this Three of Wands that will cause Western democracies to step up here if China invades. We've got the outcome card is the Sword of Truth. This is a justice element here. And this is also a yes card for me. So it is possible that China will send in those armoured vehicles and troops to break up the protesters. Two aces. It is all about this money here. So there's something else here to this story that we haven't, and we've got the King of Pentacles, business. This is the businessman. There's something else here that we're not seeing. What's at the base of the reading as to what China's motivations are? We've got theft and betrayal at the base of the reading, and we've got the protesters with a quest, impassioned inspiration. And we've got the Knight of Cups here. Again, it shows the extent to which these protesters will put themselves on the line. There is a monetary situation here. There's something here that is not yet coming out in the mainstream media as to why, at this time, China does not want political uprising in Hong Kong, and it has to do with money, perhaps control as well. And what I see here is Western democracies stepping up not to protect the protesters, unfortunately. It's to do with the commerce, the commercial aspects of this. So it could be I'm seeing, but what I'm not seeing though is the Tower card, and I'm not seeing. I unfortunately do have loss here. But I'm not seeing. I'm not pulling the Death card, which would be really devastating. So there is more to this story to come. It is possible that China will send in those troops to break up the protests. But I think what we'll see is a fairly strong reaction. If that is prevented, it's because Western democracies are worried about that commercial aspect, and they will step up. But there is more around the conspiratorial aspects between China and the Hong Kong government that is yet to come out. So that's the situation in Hong Kong. All right, very worrying for those young protesters. I'm old enough to remember what happened in Tiananmen Square. Our Prime Minister at the time offered Chinese students studying in Australia safe haven and sanctuary, asylum basically. And as a result, Australia is fairly well remembered for their support of those Chinese protesters in Tiananmen Square. We don't want to see this happen again, and we don't want to see any loss of life. All right, so let's move to our next subject, which is the Russian nuclear explosion. Let's just ask, what are they trying to cover up? Or are they trying to cover up a fairly massive nuclear spill here that could actually affect not only their own citizens, but citizens in bordering countries? Let's give this a good shuffle. So I feel that there is a truth that's likely, just going back to Hong Kong, there's some sort of truth yet to come out here. But it is possible China might send in those troops. All right. And the truth is likely to concern the relationship and the conspiratorial relationship between the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government. All right, to Russia. Nuclear explosion. Of course, who can forget Chernobyl? Nobody. Chernobyl was an event of such a magnitude that, people will still be reading about it in 50 years. So is this in a similar vein? certainly the Russians are trying to cover up the extent of the radiation spill. All right, let's have a look. What's happening in with that nuclear missile? The explosion, the radiation leaks, the deaths, the injuries. Are those townsfolk located near the testing site? Are they in danger? Is this a cover-up by the Russian government? And more importantly, will Putin pay for this? Okay, so what are the Russians? Are the Russians trying to cover up the extent of the nuclear explosion? Are the Russians trying to, yes, cover up the extent? Yep. Okay, so there's more people injured. What I'm getting is people in beds being treated. There's more people injured here or suffering radiation exposure than what we actually know. Are the Russians trying to cover up the extent of the radiation exposure following this nuclear explosion? Yep, that's a yes. Okay, the Four of Cups, it's showing me here as a signifier card that people are disappointed in what actions the Russian government has actually taken, and that they will be trying to make it up in some way to those citizens, offering something. However, the truth is the challenge here, in the challenge position. So Russian citizens extremely disappointed over what's happened. Could be a backlash against Putin. And the challenge card here for Putin, for the Russian government, is that the truth will start to keep coming out, despite their best attempts to hide it. It's like everything else, the truth eventually wins out. I'm just having some of my tea, thank you. Okay, so if you're watching this, go and get a cup of tea yourself. Pause it and go and get a cup of tea. Wow, foundation of the reading. This is it. This is the Tower card, and this didn't come. It didn't come forward in the Hong Kong reading. It's come forward now, which is telling me that nuclear explosion and the radiation exposure is a lot worse than what we're currently learning, and the truth is going to keep coming out here with that Tower card. This is, as I understand it, exactly what happened. There was an explosion and people were knocked off the testing site into the sea, and the reactor has fallen into the sea. Okay, so what we've got here in the past, we've got the cover-ups. This is the Queen of Wands, and this is also the inability to cover things up as well, because the Queen of Wands comes forward really. She sees the unseen, or what is trying to be hidden. So that's telling me that the truth will actually eventually emerge. So what we've got in the sky here, and I'm going back to the reading that I did before, I feel that reading was picking up on multiple events that we're currently seeing. Heartbreak, loss of life here. Okay, the Knight of Pentacles, trying to stabilise things, sending in troops. As I understand it, Russian military personnel. They were dressed in hazmat suits. The ambulances, according to the Rachel Maddow show, showed footage of it being taped with plastic, so as the injured would not be giving off radiation to those that were treating them. That's in the immediate future. It's also suggesting that there will be those within Russia that will be courageous enough to try and get the truth out. Queen of Swords, and we've got this now. We've got the objectivity, we've got the discernment of the truth here with this Queen of Swords. Currently, there are people working on the inside to try and get this story out. We've got the Wheel of Fortune in the environment around, and I feel that this is also a karmic card as well. What were they doing? Testing nuclear-powered missiles. Trump pulled right out of that nuclear treaty that Gorbachev had signed with Reagan, and now we've got this. Okay, so there's a karmic situation here. And in the hopes and fears, we've got loans and debts. So the magnitude of this spill could actually be, and also the cleanup. Now that nuclear reactor apparently has gone into the White Sea. I think it is the White Sea that borders the Scandinavian countries. And here we've got Mother Russia here, this strength. Yep, and we've got loss. This is a loss for Russia. And it's the cleanup. I was talking about the cleanup. It's actually going to be, they're going to be carrying a heavy load here, trying to manage this, because it is a lot stronger. It is a lot more serious than what we've been led to believe. They are juggling, trying to keep the lid on this, but we've got judgment here. What I'm getting from this reading is Russian citizens themselves will now start to question the wisdom of the aggression that Vladimir Putin is pursuing. If this spill, if enough citizens are killed, harmed, injured, exposed to radiation in this nuclear explosion, then that's going to reflect very badly on Vladimir Putin. Let's not forget the thousands and thousands of protesters. That it's a climate for Putin of dissent, and this is not going to help at all. So let's go to Epstein. I've done readings, as I said, on Epstein, which had showed that I did feel it was suicide. It was almost understood that he had to take his own life, but I do feel he had help. Now, whether that help extends to guards not being there, the warden not being, sanctioning this, money changing hands, that's the kind of thing that could have happened. He could have actually even had someone in the cell with him accelerating this, let's just put it that way. And if that's the case, will the truth come out? I don't want to go too far into Epstein. It's not an energy I like to be in, but let's just ask, is there a cover-up? Is there a cover-up? Let me just, been doing a couple of heavy readings. Is there a cover-up over the Epstein matter? Is there a cover-up over the Epstein death? Is there a cover-up? Will there be a cover-up? Will there be a cover-up over the Epstein death? Will we learn what really happened with the Epstein death? Will we learn what really happened with the Epstein death? So we've got the Fool card and we've got new beginnings. I feel this is where people are wanting to, the powers that be, are wanting to move on fairly quickly from this situation. The Seven of Pentacles, though, this is really reevaluating. It's not going to be that easy for this story to go away. I feel that media will be still on it, and that they will be putting two and two together. This is sort of going back to the drawing board. It's not over yet. We've got the Knight of Wands here as the foundation of the reading, and this is a plan for the future, and then moving forward with that plan. We've got the Ace of Wands in the past here, a plan, and the execution of that plan. What's in the sky is the truth here with the Page of Swords, but it's not a king, it's not a queen of swords. So this is suggesting that the truth won't be coming out readily and easily. It will have to be, they will have to dig for it, and it will emerge slowly. In the immediate future, we've got the Magician here, and this is manipulation. Okay, I want to go to Bar next. We've got them juggling this situation, this plan. And of course, we've got the High Priestess coming forward here with secrets, something untold, something that's not being revealed to us. The Knight of Pentacles is money news. What are they trying to hide? If there was money changing hands here, the fear is that could come out. Somebody was paid off. We've got the Four of Swords here, retreat. Well, this is the the night after battle, who is either mortally wounded or is or passes away. So I think that's quite clear. The Ace of Pentacles, money. It's all about the money. And we've got loss here. This is often my passing over card when someone actually does pass over. What's at the base of the reading? Of course, delusions, illusions, smoke screens, blurring it so that we can't actually get to the truth. Somebody was in somebody's debt. And we've got the King of Cups, which can be my bar card, and I'll go a little bit further with the bottom of the deck energies. And we've got the Emperor trying to retain control here. So these are just my intuitive impressions. I don't want to be still reading on Epstein in 3 months, so this is just a quick look. Let's go to Barr now. He's in charge. He's authorised an investigation. Is he implicated in any way? I have read on this before. Let's take another look. Given the coroner's finding that it was suicide by hanging, let's see what's going to come out of that investigation. We know that Barr holds back to create a narrative that's more favourable to him. Is Barr going to interfere with that investigation at all? Will William Barr, the Attorney General, interfere with the Epstein death investigation? Will William Barr interfere? Yeah, I'm getting a fairly strong pull to that. Okay, so retaining control of the narrative. The Emperor cards also could be my card for Donald Trump as well. Okay, let's see what the challenge here is here. Endings and beginnings. And this situation is really significant on the world stage. So if they do attempt to cover up, it's going to be very difficult for them. I keep getting this pull here with the Lovers card. What star sign is William Barr? Let's have a look. Will that be readily and quickly available to me on the internet? William Barr. I know that is Trump's star sign. Let's have a look. Just bear with me for a minute. I know some of you already have the answers out there. Yeah, he's a Gemini. Okay, that's the foundation of the reading. All right, we've got wish fulfillment. Oh my goodness me! Epstein's death was welcomed by his co-conspirators. We've got Temperance card here. What is the potential of this to come to come in the future? What's in the sky? We've got this Temperance card that keeps coming out. I'm looking to December here as a critical month for more information on this. We've got the Empress card, things coming forward. There's quite a lot of evidence here. There's quite a lot of evidence with this Empress card. Quite a lot of evidence against Epstein and his co-conspirators, but quite a lot of evidence also in what that investigation will turn up, because we've got the Eight of Swords here, which is the imprisonment. We've got the Ten of Cups here in the environment around. I do feel this is the American voters, not just American voters, those across the world, sitting in their lounge rooms watching this going, this is really dirty. There's something crooked here. Okay, we've got the Death card in the hopes and the fears. I do believe again that there were co-conspirators that wanted Epstein dead. And we've got the abuse of power. It's quite clear that William Barr, according to my reading, there's an offer here. There's also surprise news. And we've got isolation here, isolating the news. There's some sort of abuse of power. However, we've got the Tower card, base of the pack energies. We've got the Fool, and we've got money here changing hands. So And I'll just go one further. We've got the hangman upside down, which actually indicates that something will come forward. This is not something that can be covered up, but my intuition is that they will try and hold back certain evidence. This is just my impression in the tarot. So take it with a grain of salt. I may be right or I may be wrong. All right, I don't want to stay too much on Epstein, so I'm going to keep going. Ghislaine. Some people pronounce it Ghislaine, some people pronounce it Ghislaine. It doesn't really matter. It is what it is. Okay, so you don't need to school me on that pronunciation. All right, let's see. Will she be indicted? I'll just give this another shuffle because this is quite a substantial reading. But I know that you've been waiting for me. I've been busy with family business and I haven't been able to get on and read. So if this goes over a little bit, it doesn't matter. You're going to, it'll make up for me not being around in the last couple of days. So Ghislaine Maxwell, she's living in Massachusetts, is it? Town in Massachusetts. Will she be indicted as a co-conspirator? Will Ghislaine Maxwell be indicted as a co-conspirator? Ghislaine Maxwell. I'll just ask you to actually walk around. Okay. Walk around via the... Okay. All right, sorry about that. Okay, Ghislaine Maxwell. Will she be indicted as a co-conspirator? Ghislaine Maxwell should be indicted as a co-conspirator. Let's have a look here. We've got the Eight of Wands, so things coming forward fairly quickly here. We've got the Seven of Pentacles. This is going, drawing board, strategy. Okay, that's challenging it. Okay, so there's a push to indict her. There's an understanding that she'll have to be indicted, but they're trying to work out how she cannot be indicted. Magician, actualizing something into reality. I feel that there are significant forces that are actually working here to try and stop any more focus, any of the spotlight. There's cover-ups here. This is the energy that I'm feeling. But with the Chariot here, we've got things coming forward very, very strongly. There will be some kind of smoke screen, illusion, delusions, but it's going to be quite heavy. It's going to be hard going for them to do that. This Epstein matter is very, very significant. What's in her past? Going back to the past, we've got this offer here with this Page of Cups. I do feel this is the young people. That she's been alleged that she was a madam for Epstein. She is isolated with that Hermit card, but we've got the World here, and this is a yes card. I feel that she will. That we're at a crossroads now, and it's a period of time. So even though people may be trying to cover this up, it's not something, because we've got the Sun card, illumination. What's at the base of the reading? Interesting energies here. We've got Temperance, balance, bringing balance back into a situation, my December card. We've got the Queen of Cups here. I do believe this is the women. We've got Judgment here, something that will be have to come to a necessary close. So I feel that the women will keep pushing for justice. Those that may be trying to protect her or keep her under wraps so that this thing finishes, they're not going to be successful. Okay, so one more question around Trump. So they expect illumination, but possibly later on this year around Ghislaine Maxwell. I do feel she will eventually be indicted, even though there are those that are trying to stop this. I feel that she will be eventually indicted as a co-conspirator as a result of the women pushing forward for justice. Okay, Donald Trump. Donald Trump. What do we need to know about him? I'll do perhaps a fuller reading on Monday regarding Trump and the week ahead, but let's have a quick look at him now over the weekend. What's going on with Donald Trump? What's going on with Donald Trump? Okay, what's on Donald Trump's mind this weekend? What's on Donald Trump's mind this weekend? I just got the image of the Seven of Swords. Okay, money, Trump Organization. Money is on his mind. Interesting card, challenge. Okay, interesting. What's on Trump's mind? It's his business. It's the Trump Organization. It's money. And we've got the Six of Swords here, moving on, relocation. We've got more polls coming out today showing that with a recession looming, which I'll do a fuller reading on early next week, it's very difficult for Trump to be re-elected. Okay, so I feel he is considering. There's also here around money. The Queen of Swords, also with Congress. That's the foundation of the reading. So he's worried about these congressional inquiries. In the past, we've got injury here to Trump, and he knows it. Okay, so I feel he's looking at ways out. He's trying to juggle things here. He's got too many balls in the air. We've got the Netanyahu issue here and the Congresswomen. This is circles of support. I do feel that people are closing ranks, particularly his family, to try and also cover for him. It could be they know that it's time for him to move on. Here we have our Five of Swords. Maybe that's the image I got. Abuse of power. So there's something here, as always with Trump, some kind of abuse of power. The environment around, though, is very, very hopeful. And it's hopeful because I feel that the polls are reflecting the general mood that I don't think he will, if he makes it to 2020, December's a key month in all of this. If he makes it to 2020, he's unlikely to be re-elected. The hopes and fears, it's his business that's on his mind here, Donald Trump, the businessman. It's also the fear of what might come out in relation to Donald Trump, the businessman. And we've got him trying to cover something up with this Seven of Cups. He's working here to cover. It's a cover-up that's on his mind. However, the fact that the truth keeps dribbling out is also on his mind. Okay, so we've got at the base of the pack, we've got a lot of anxiety here. We've got the Page of Pentacles, again, money news, and we've got the Tower. Okay, so he's most worried about his money, but also his monetary records. Things coming out to do with money. He's worried and he's still working to cover that up. Is this in relation to his tax returns? With that Six of Swords card there, he is thinking about moving on. Okay, so that's coming through in the kinds of comments that we see him saying, if I wasn't president, I could be making a lot more money. We see that coming through because it's uppermost in his mind. What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. So I'm going to leave it there. That's a nice long reading for you. And have a good weekend, everyone. I'll be back again in a couple of days. We'll look at the energies of the week ahead, and we will monitor that breaking news. I hope those young people in Hong Kong are safe, and I hope we move toward a greater transparency and just in our governments and in our democracies. I feel that's where we're moving to. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thank you.